Magoon Gwath is in the portal. We have the original in the portal announcement video where I think Carter and Dion broke down Gwath's game yesterday on the channel. So go watch that if you want more details on Magoon Gwath, the player. Well, now we have a short list of schools that have been in contact with him. And I believe this was CBB Content that tweeted this, but says that Magoon Gwath directly told him that these schools have reached out to Magoon Gwath. Kentucky, Michigan, and Washington. I am a Michigan basketball fan, so this is another one that Dusty May has been active on. Kentucky is a big beast. Mark Pope is after a bunch right now, and obviously Washington, a school not overly far regionally from San Diego State that certainly has money to spend. So, what's your reaction to this initial list of Michigan, Kentucky, and Washington for Magoon Gwath?
I think all three options present a different avenue of what you want if you're Gwath, right? I think the Washington avenue is to go get a bag and be the centerpiece of potentially something that Danny Sprinkle's trying to build. That's option one. Option two is Michigan, where you could potentially play next to Danny Wolf next year, although um, Dusty May has said they anticipate Wolf going to the NBA. But best case scenario, you're going to play next to Danny Wolf next year, be the centerpiece of a team that has Final Four hopes, expectations, and be around for essentially being the second centerpiece of Dusty May's tenure at Michigan after Danny Wolf. And you go to Kentucky, which is just the option to play for the bluest of blue bloods in a major role.
What would that role be at Kentucky to you?
I think that role is probably as your starting five.
Okay.
Given his rim
Interesting.
protection, given his 3-point shooting, like he is your, I think to me, he screams that Mark Pope, Pat Kelsey, 5 out center.
Okay. So
He needs to
I
get stronger. He needs to get bigger. But that to me is the vision.
So I agree with you, and I'm glad you said that. Gwath, first off, let me make clear this is my first time commenting on him publicly, given that my school is recruiting him. This is my priority one target, 1A, over anybody else. I know Owen Freeman we're after. Elliot Cadeau's on the list. There's a bunch of guards that they've started reaching out to. Gwath, if I could get one, I want Gwath for a couple reasons. Number one, I think his ceiling is the highest of any player in the portal outside of the hired gun grad transfer Donovan Dents here. Like I think Gwath could end up a lottery pick. I think what he showed as a freshman that was really completely off the radar was utterly insane at San Diego State in year one. He was fourth in the country in block rate. He had games with 6 blocks, 4 blocks, a bunch with 5. He's a monster. And he was rail thin as a 7-footer, kind of in between playing the 4 and the 5 and floating on the perimeter on offense and just blocking shots from everywhere on defense. I mean, the shot I think is real. Only shot 41 attempts from three, but shot 37% from there, shot 38% in conference play. Like I just see so much upside here from a 3 and D big that I think is pretty mobile for being a true seven
Mm-hmm.
footer. I don't know whether you would necessarily just think him as like that guy's our 30 minutes a game starting center, but that's where he can get at some point
Yeah.
in his career, whether it happens this upcoming year or whether it happens 3 years from now. So you go through his KenPom player comps, they're freakish. Dwight Powell, Kai Jones, Mo Bamba, Mo Gay from Washington State, Musa Diabate, a one and done that was kind of that in between 4 and 5 at Michigan. They're
Mhm.
freakish athletic dudes. And I think that's exactly what you're getting here with Magoon Gwath. So he's not the
Yeah.
most polished player. He's not an all American by any means. But
Mhm.
the upside here is enormous. And it's the number one guy on my front court board right now. Um,
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting because of the three listed, can we be disrespectful to Washington and Eli for a second?
Yes, we can.
That one's not serious, right?
That is the how big is the bag?
Right, which is great if you want to go do that. Go get a $5 million bag, be a skinny, great Osibor, and never be heard from again.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a certainly respectable, commendable path. The other two options are serious options here to me. And if he ends up going the unserious route, I'll seriously applaud Washington for getting it done. But Kentucky's out to compete for Final Fours. Michigan's out to compete for Final Fours. Michigan just put Danny Wolf in the NBA. Kentucky's going to make a bunch of guys offensively look fantastic in a Mark Pope system.
Mhm.
So until we hear more schools involved, which I anticipate we will hear more schools be after Magoon Gwath, to me, I'm kind of taking this as Michigan versus Kentucky. And if it is Michigan versus Kentucky, Ralph, if you were Magoon Gwath's advisor, what would your advice be?
My advice would be to lean Kentucky right now. There are a lot of factors at play here, but Mark Pope has proven he can win with your prototype, right? He has shown that he can win with guys who can step out, guys who are more perimeter oriented offensively. I do think Dusty May has some of that, but it's from a playing small standpoint. Where you're going to essentially put Gwath as a four man, which may project better for the NBA. But Dusty May's best teams at FAU, right, had like Elijah Martin playing the four. It was four guards around Vlad Golden, and then you go to Michigan this year and you have the two big system that works incredibly well. Dusty May is a phenomenal coach, and the fact that he won both ways tells you he's a great coach. All I would say is he has not won with this kind of prototype before. And you could say that like Danny Wolf has some of the same skills with the ability to step out and hit the three and be kind of secondary playmaking hub, which is true. But I would say that Wolf is a far more polished interior presence than Gwath is. And to me, that is a difference.
Certainly different archetypes. Gwath's so much better defensively. Wolf is so much more polished offensively as like an engine on the perimeter. I do think positionally with Gwath, it's interesting because I am totally comfortable saying he's like a starting five wherever he goes. But there are different levels to starting fives. There's like the Hunter Dickinson starting five, play 38 minutes, do everything, we'll run through you.
Yep.
Gwath, to me, if he's your starting five in a high major league, may not play more than 24 minutes. Now, I think there's hope it could go beyond that, but he only played 22 minutes a game this year in the Mount West.
Yeah.
He kind of, like I said, hovered back and forth between being a center and a four, and I just don't know. He's still rail thin. He's got to put weight and muscle on, and if he's 210 pounds next year, I don't think he's a starting center in the SEC that can play more than 20 minutes. So, Big Ten,
Right.
same thing. There's monstrous bigs in that league. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. The one pushback I would give you, just making my official pitch for Gwath to Michigan, would be how many players is Mark Pope at Kentucky about to put into the NBA?
I would say more than we thought in the preseason.
Zero. The answer is zero. How many front court players with perimeter skills is Dusty May immediately putting into the NBA in 1 year?
We think it's one.
It's one.
We think it's one.
Dusty's telling everybody it's one. I mean, he's
NBA is
telling
not
these
telling you it's
recruits. I
one.
think he told Gwath right now, we need to replace Danny Wolf. He's going to
Yeah.
the league. So I hear you. I think my guess would be this, to be honest with you. If he goes to Kentucky, I think his role would be smaller than it would be at Michigan, partially because their team may be
Yes.
better. But
Yes. Like his role would be that 20 to 24 minute per game guy at Kentucky.
yeah,
I think your chances of immediately playing like 30 minutes a game or so is much greater at Michigan.
yeah, yep. A lot of moving parts. There's like 9 guys Dusty needs to fill. Kentucky is all over the place in terms of targets too. So we'll see. Okay, we'll have more coverage of this as Gwath's list expands. But you just heard my pitch. You're my priority one, Magoon. Come to Ann Arbor. It'd be lovely, you and I together.
Tap the sign. Tap the sign.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.